Interlude. Floating or waiting. Feet. Stepping. Feet are the edge of the corpse. Stepping is scrolling the rock I am. It is scrolling. A walk is an assertion of peace. A vehicle, motor vehicle, or any such vehicle, thereby, is a statement of values to cross more distances, to cross faster, to rush, to make the distance irrelevant. The definition of ghost: it is one who's bound to the place where peace is not. Walk away to peace. Float or wait. To float is to walk unbound. To wait is to be contained. Imprisoned. You've been bound to a place peace is not, and cannot walk away. Because of the container. What is a container? What are the options for someone who is a ghost? To float or to wait? What is the container? Or let's ask the next question and come back. Because to define the container, we must actually ask what happens when the container opens. Its contents disperse, and then it disappears. The container only exists while it's containing something. So the container's construct is irrelevant. It doesn't even have to be a physical box or a walled location. It simply disappears when you open it and release the contents. The Stanley narrator is vexed. I tried so hard, he said. It would have been so perfect. A ghost of the boss. Stanley character seems symbolic at best. There is no player. A ghost is bound in the container. The narrator is a person. Narrator games are about the boss. Coda games are about the player. A funny joke in the Beginner's Guide stream Davey Reedon held in order to comment on the playthrough of the game. A viewer asked, "Did you see if they chose choices to get the good, true ending? This is funny because there is no ending." In this game, Davey is asking Coda, how did they get the wholeness? He's asking the question of how to begin, the game title. For me, something changed after being detained, contained within a place where peace is not, unable to float out from it. To want to walk away, but to be restricted from doing so. My metaphysical awareness changed during those 3 days last November. And what the change was kind of inside of a cocoon all this time, questing since then. But the cocoon recently opened. I'm here. Segment 3. Mania / dropout. Ideas, ideas, ideas. What does it mean? Why am I the dropout? What is mania? Information extravaganza. I was somehow born knowing how to create. I was born programmed with a tool for medicating mania. What is mania? An interesting type of agitation, very adjacent to physical panic attacks. This means it's not worry thinking. It's the affliction in your biological vehicle with heaviness and wheezing, sweating, dread/anger mood, or just restless insomnia. Mania is right next to this physical shutdown, and it is information extravaganza. Too many ideas. What is the tool for medicating mania? It is meditation. Now, to properly convey my feelings about mania and about being the dropout, I need to describe something I now call the alcohol consequence. Essentially, a fool who persists in his folly will become wise. This was a shower thought. Given the fact that there can't be a teacher, that you can't really get something from an external authority. There's just no way of doing it. A teacher can't give this to you or make you know. There's no means of conveying the alcohol consequence to any given user of this substance. The only way that it can be conveyed is to experience it. And the alcohol consequence is interesting because when you get to the point that you are in the full consequence, there's a definitive harm. It's like a warning to your system biologically when you reach this point. It's a variety of possible physical symptoms, but essentially it's kind of an edge point where you can go off the cliff. You could choose to keep going and ignore the warning sign, but essentially this is how I think of the consequence. I think of it as a warning plateau in the substance's impact on your physical and emotional well-being. And this can, of course, vary from person to person. It might cause somebody to lash out and become embarrassed socially, or cause a catastrophe, crash their car, or it could be experienced completely silently, completely alone. Nobody knows of the struggle or the suffering except to the person who made the choice to consume the substance. But ultimately, I feel that this is the Watts koan. The answer, we frequently get posts on Reddit that come around every now and then saying, well, if Alan Watts is so wise, how did he end up dying from alcohol? Or supposing that that's how he died. I don't know. I don't suppose that we could know, particularly, that was definitively the cause, if he was so far off the cliff or not. I don't have a way of commenting on that from where I sit, because I wasn't in the situation. But people come around the Alan Watts board and presume to know that that's what happened and try to make an issue out of it. But the thing is, what they're saying, or the question they're asking, reveals this koan, the alcohol consequence, in full. Because Alan Watts got there. He got the punchline and he returned with it. And he came back saying, when you get the message, hang up the damn phone. You don't need to go off the edge when you get up to that point. You're free to stop. But the only way to do so is to understand the actual meaning of the alcohol consequence when you get there, which is you're dealing harm to yourself. You're experiencing a harmful situation, a series of escalating harm in many cases. And as you do that, as you go to the bottom, you gain the background. You gain the ability to comprehend what the well-being is that you lost. You couldn't ever possibly understand what that is if nothing ever knocked it out of your hands. Allowing you the choice to go and pick it up on purpose and hold it and treasure it. So it may seem a bit too obvious or too easy. As Watt says, it's too easy. That's why it's so difficult for people. But this is really what I feel as far as consequences. Any harm which you can only properly experience if you are choosing it for yourself. If your own responsibility takes you down that path where you get to the bottom and then you can witness the totality, the entire situation that it is to have fallen, to have experienced. My polarity about teacher fraud is the idea that you're kicking your own ass metaconsciously, so you're cleverly acting as a teacher who installs wisdom. I discovered all the tricks of well-being and reality grounding because I wandered into many, many dungeons and caves where sanity cannot endure. This is the meaning of a weird dream I had, a weird hell office place presented in the dream. Within which different people were acting weird, with weird body language and saying a single word, like how Pokemon say their name, over and over in a looping, patterned way. The patterns were differing between them, along with them having the different name, but repeating that same one word along with their pattern of body language, almost like the Ministry of Silly Walks from Monty Python, but in a creepy way. This was a very fucking creepy place. You sensed that you might be in danger, but it never actually got dangerous. You would step over doors in the floor, sometimes when hearing the hostile sounding pattern names, but these doors were closed. All my dreams aren't ever populated with any characters, at least when it comes to office and night locations. This was the first one breaking that trend. It was a job offer for independent contractors, but going to this place quickly became a weird choreography. To travel, we had to walk in a human caravan, a hand on contact the shoulder of the person in front of you. We would see the fact that breaking that energy chain caused you to start being pulled to do the name pattern and body language that we were recently near. Not necessarily the most recent one, but one of the patterns that we had encountered sometime lately that day. Losing your grip on the goal of progressing through this place to get where the job offer happens, as I'm trying to contract this work for non-employment income to live my life. If you didn't stay in the contact chain, you would lose your grip and become one of the people menacingly, creepily doing the patterns. The meaning is, you find different harms, and that places you into the awareness of the good way, the well-being that is not being harmed with that one. The path back up. You get gratitude. You get the huge gaze. In my game, you sometimes encounter in the overworld, or levels, a level entrance, which is, upon entering, actually a lengthy falling, eventually reaching that you land in the black room, blue gate door, the beginning of the game's starting sequence. The portal may appear like a level that has no appearance anywhere in the game. The unwritten ones he doesn't know how to read. He can read the printed books, but not the unprinted one. So there are obviously levels that are as yet unmade in the game, or some game, a location that was seen before you could actually go there, for example in 4 years later when new seasons of the game took place. Not every location depicted in my game is in my game. Some of them are from other games, and some of them aren't from a particular game, but they aren't in this game either. Or it could correspond to an inventory codex icon, whether identified or with a question mark, captioned. It's random. The point is, it's showing you the class, in the polarity sense, not the specific instances of any of them. Each time you encounter this portal, you see that, either an item that you know of, or one that you haven't encountered yet, you don't know what it is, but it gets added to your codex. But each time, you end up getting dropped back to the beginning when you try to enter this place. Now here we fall into the beginning premise. That is supposed to be how this episode actually begins. I'm going to cut that together in the second pass version. Mania. I have so much information crackling that I can barely function. Playing the game to meditate allows me to gain some kind of conduit into the crackling motion I contain. The game is a tool allowing me to wander my idea places and harvest them. Full HP, Peacecraft, Zen Monastery. Welcome to my house. Every problem we have ever undergone was harm that could have been reduced by challenging fear. It taught me how to challenge anger and take it on with potion. I learned that, and now I'm teaching you. But the only teacher there is yourself. There is no teaching, actually. Mr. Noodle pretends he doesn't know so the kids can become teacher and actually learn it. Because the only teacher is self. So, I'm not teaching you. I'm just pretending I don't know. My choices are to be Mr. Noodle or be Mr. Nothing. If you are hidden, I disappear. I'm nothing. If you are seen, I come into being. Fear hides you, so challenge it. I told you my deepest heart, how I've fallen, what it is to have fallen, because you are healer, educator, creative, the mother energy for which I fell. I did not see me until that fall was in motion. I was only wandering up to the cliff edge where I would see, in the motion of this fall, we are not separate. And I saw me only because I saw you. And there was no unfalling. You don't get back into the cliff. Because after falling, you are in space. This is space. Existence is this love. We see it, we are it. That was my LSD insight last July, a year ago. In my angriest depression, alone with my questions, I saw, I'm the sky. We are all falling, and it's love here. The clearest psychedelic message I've ever received. It was like flight, and the impression that I'm the space. Everything is in flight, passing through. The continuous sky. This completely altered my course. I saw plainly clear. I am the sky, and there is only love here. Peacecraft Zen Monastery is a place that lives in me. Like a house, only I don't live there physically. I live there metaphysically. Why is this? Instructional objects, instructing the user of the object into peace or joy. I assemble this device. I let whoever will take possession of it do so. It is added to their inventory. Ideas, ideas, ideas. The user of the equipment produces the value. The value is full HP health, for fuck's sake. Full health, like when we describe optimal recovery in gameplay that allows you to take damage, full health has been reached or maintained. This is Monk Education Ultimate ability, called Full HP. My health is my well-being. For fuck's sake, FFS, a word describing equipment, which is used by a worker to create the value. I'm using that math to talk about education and joy. You fucking create it yourself using inventions. These inventions are attempts to solve the innovator's paradox, the teacher koan. How can we fool the end user into a benefit? If we fool them into detriment, then that's a scam. If we fool them into a benefit, then that's teaching.